Hi all, welcome back to the final whistle for the evening whistle then. And tonight we're going to discuss Leicester City striker issues then, as we're actually going to have a look at a club who have really struggled in strikers, spent a lot of money on strikers, and also not finding and failing in the recruitment to find a long-term replacement for Jamie Vardy. So, yeah, we're going to actually have a look at how much Leicester's spent on strikers. We're going to discuss Patson Daka and Jordan Ayew, Slimani, Musa's on the list, Tom Cannon, Carranza, Edward. There's quite a few on this list where we're going to discuss, and then we're going to rate them out of how many we discuss and who we put as the best of the business and who has been also the worst. So yeah, get involved. This one's going to be a very interesting one for the international break. Strikers, that shouldn't take long. Evening, Ray. Evening, Andreas. How are we? Hope you're good. Phil, how are we? Hope you're good. Everyone hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you know. You haven't subscribed already, get down and do so. And it would help me out massively if you can do that. Eli, how are we?
Very good, mate. Very good. Yourself?
Yeah, this one should be an interesting topic of discussion with Leicester City striker issues. Obviously, this goes beyond this season of how bad Leicester City striking issues have been. The club have never found and recruited well in replacing Jamie Vardy.
Probably not even in just recruiting to replace Vardy, but recruiting to support Vardy as well. I think it's the reliance has been completely on Jamie Vardy for 9 years. Well, certainly the last 9 years, isn't it? And we're in a position now where we don't have Jamie Vardy, and this has really come to bite us right on the ass now, isn't it? Because we're left with what we've got that just isn't cutting the mustard at the moment, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was all in on Tom Cannon, so take everything I say with a pinch of salt. Fair enough. Jay, how are we, mate? Hope you're well. I like Slimani a lot. A big number 9 who was untouchable in the air. Our issue was Ranieri would sub him off for Albrighton or vice versa. Our best crosser of the ball, Mark Albrighton, and best target man never played together. League One football. It is what it is, mate, to be fair. Counter-attacking style never suited Slimani. Unaligned recruitment again. Well, Leicester City, since 2016, have spent a combined whopping 140 million quid in strikers. That says it all. And how much have we got back in what we've wanted from the price tag and what these players have done for the club? Not many of them players on the list can actually say they've done a lot. 30 million quid duffer. It's a lot of money, Eli, isn't it? 140 million quid. Obviously, we speak about Jamie Vardy. I'll tell you what, let's discuss him first. Jamie Vardy, obviously, we're going from 2016 onwards. But before that, let's talk about a few of the good times when we talk about strikers. Let's talk about the man himself, Jamie Vardy. Obviously, spent 13 years at Leicester City, 500 appearances, 200 goals, and it's Leicester's greatest of all-time strikers. And, a striker that created big moments in Leicester's history and was the GOAT for the reason and the name. So, what was your thoughts on Jamie Vardy? Obviously, as a Leicester player,
really fantastic. And you think like £1 million We're gonna spend the next hour or so talking about all these players that have cost tens of millions of pounds that haven't hit the ground running, haven't delivered for us, and we're in a position where we're talking about a player that we signed from Fleetwood that was let go by Sheffield Wednesday years and years ago, that has come to us, become our greatest ever player, and delivered 200 goals in 500 games for £1 million. Like, that's unheard of. You don't get that that's one of those stories that you just will not hear ever again. And it's not just the goals he scored; it's what he did for the culture of the club, the housery, if you get me, as well. The good times, the 11 goals, in a row, and the records, and the Premier League title, and the FA Cup win, and everything that Jamie Vardy did for the club is one of those stories that I just feel is never ever going to happen in football again.
Yeah, I said this when Vardy left Leicester, that we'd never see Jamie Vardy in my lifetime again. For what he achieved at the football club, the records he broke, the 11-11 in the Premier League that we still talk about to this day. No one's even got close. The Haalands, even Aguero, when he were about, it never got close to that margin. Vardy was Mr. Leicester City. It was the pinnacle of what Leicester City was. And some people will say that Jamie Vardy carried Leicester City, and to an extent, you would say that was very true. Leading the line as a striker should. He was clinical, he was prolific, and he did exactly what a striker should be doing. He's always on the edge of them defenders and has the pace to beat anybody. And Vardy proved his worth. That £1 million signing from Fleetwood back in 2012 is unheard of, and the loyalty to show 13 years at a football club, it's just madness. And this is where Leicester City, since a Jamie Vardy signing, have gone absolutely Pete Tom with it all. They've spent a lot of money on strikers who just haven't lived up to even close to filling Jamie Vardy's boots, to be honest.
Not even close. I think some of the other words that you sort of think about for Jamie Vardy as well is he was one of the most clinical strikers you will ever see. He was an England international. He's a top level striker. I would go as far as saying he was world class. I think that, and I don't think anyone at any club, whether you like him, whether you hate him, I don't think anyone can deny that Jamie Vardy was world class. You're absolutely right. He's loyalty as well. He obviously turned down Arsenal for us. He could have gone there and potentially won. Well, he would have either won the title or become a member of the Bottler Club, wouldn't he? So
he'd have been a bench player, wouldn't it, for Arsenal? Let's be honest about it. I think this is what Arsene Wenger sort of wanted to do, really. And you'd rather sit Vardy on the bench over Giroud.
Yeah, I think the other thing with Vardy as well is like you knew what you were going to get with him. As any fan in the stadium knew that Jamie Vardy was going to be on the last man. The players knew Jamie Vardy would be on the last man. They play that ball, he's going to chase it down. His pace was electric. He was always going to get on the end of it. He was always going to beat the man, and he knew what he was going to do before the ball even came to him. And the rest of the team, whether it was Conte, Albrighton, whether it was Mahrez, they all knew where he was going to be. And you compare that to where we are now, we haven't got the clinical person. We haven't got the person playing on the last man. You're absolutely right. I think he scored for Cremonese at the weekend, didn't he? In a really important.
Well, he assisted a goal for him. 1 minute.
It was a great pass across goal as well. It was really
one touch, was it? It was just one pass.
Exactly. Again, this is what I'm saying. He just knew. You just know what he knows what he's going to do before the ball even gets at his feet, and that's the sign of a world-class striker. I'll never forget that goal he scored for England. That back heel flick. He's just world-class. Full stop. And when you don't have him is when you realise probably just Leicester fans would know, how good he was.
You don't know how good you've got it until he's gone. Exactly. And this is what Leicester City. This is Leicester City this season is a strike force.
Yeah,
you don't know how good you've got it until this person leaves the football club. And this is why the demand of Leicester City strike force isn't the same anymore. And you've got bloody Bill and Ben and the bloody flower pot men up front who are not exactly cutting the mustard. But for the price tag that you pay for these players, you expect a lot more from them, and they're obviously on big chunks of money in that, and that's down to the club for what they pay for these players. And I just don't. What I sort of feel is, Eli, Leicester City never recruited properly. They never had a long-term plan for Jamie Vardy to replace him when he does leave, and this is showed the cracks now that is now come alight that they never had a plan at all. You know, as a football club, you have a contingency plan to say, well, this striker is going to be the one that replaces Jamie Vardy when he leaves, and to go from one number 9 in Jamie Vardy to Jordan Ayew, it's criminal in itself to even think about that sort of position, to even give somebody a number 9 show who's not even prolific. He's not even got a career stat record of goals. You know, it shows that Leicester City haven't done their homework on replacing Jamie Vardy and had a list of strikers that can potentially do that. And you know, they would have knew he were leaving for a while, and that were down to the club from that point onwards to get the ball in motion and try and have a look at another striker. But the club didn't. Now we're relying on Patson Daka and Jordan Ayew to get the goals, and that's clearly showing that we're just non-existent. Yes, Daka does the running, but his striking role is to score goals, and he clearly hasn't done that in the appearances that he's made for the club. And you look at his goal record, but then Jordan Ayew, you spend a nice chunk of money on him, and he just hasn't done it either. I was feeling sick 5 years ago with the thought of Vardy leaving, although I did think there'd be someone half decent to step in. Well, this is the problem here. They're lazy. That's unfair on Bill and Ben.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
The best replacement that should have happened was Iheanacho in COVID. He was tearing the league up in that way. Ironically, Vardy stunned our striking development. He did. Jamie Vardy, if you look at him that COVID season, he was playing them ball to Iheanacho. Iheanacho and Vardy was tearing it up. And this is where you sort of, that's where Iheanacho came to light in COVID. And then he went on that FA Cup run as well, didn't he? And, you know, at first, a young Iheanacho never really lived up to the hype at Leicester. But then coming near the end, when he sort of matured more, you sort of seen what Kell had to offer. But this is where we are now, isn't it, Eli? With Jamie Vardy, you know, he was the main man for a number of years, and then since Vardy was at Leicester City, we spent £140 million on strikers from 2016 onwards, and they just haven't cut the mustard. People will always sit there and say, yeah, but Leicester City played one style of football to suit Jamie Vardy. But then as a club, for that style of football, then you've got to go out and look at strikers who can play that exact way. But all these other strikers who they've brought in just don't play that style of football. You know, it clearly shows that they've not done their homework and not done enough development in resources to actually have a look at players who can find the right sort of solution. So we've basically peaked on with it, haven't we? And we've basically lost our way completely, spent a lot of money, went down the drain, and this is where we are now.
I think I kind of class it as a little bit of sort of the last 10 years of trying to find a striker has been a little bit gun-ho. It's almost like they're like football manager signings, and they've sent their scout there to watch one game. They've liked what they saw, and they've gone, yes, let's spend 16 million, 20 million, 30 million, 30 million, 8 million, 23 million. And you're kind of in a position where I couldn't tell you, probably with the exception of Iheanacho, I don't think any of those strikers we've signed fit the mould of the way Leicester play.
No.
And you could probably see that from minute one. You know, like, you know, we'll talk about like Slimani, we'll talk about, you know, the others, but if we just think about like Slimani, he's the complete opposite to Jamie Vardy. Now, I get it. I do understand the concept that every club needs to have a plan B, and I get that you can't just play a one size fits all tactic. You can't just you can't always have Jamie Vardy up front, running between the lines, running the channels, getting through on goal, 1-on-1, goal. You got to have a different way of working, but and that could be a target man, that could be faster wingers, that could be better wingers, that could be inverted wingers, it could be wide midfielders, but it could be false nines, it could be anything. But the way we've played has never tailored that difference in the way in a striker role. And I think that's the difficulty for me that I'm looking at. I couldn't name you one of these strikers since we signed Vardy that fits the way we play. And you look at what, and again, we'll keep coming back to what we've got now. Like they are not championship level strikers. I would go as far as saying they're not even League One standard strikers, to be honest. And I know that's being probably harsh because, like we said, Daka does work hard. But at the end of the day, when you're a striker, there's one thing that you're graded on, and that's how many times you put that ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Any club around the world, it's about how many times you put that ball in the net. And it's not even about how many assists you get, because you're not remembered for getting the assist. You're remembered for scoring 4 goals a season. You're remembered for scoring 2 goals a season. Whereas Vardy was remembered for scoring 20, 25, 28, these sort of numbers. And that's the numbers that get you in the top half, pushing for playoffs, pushing for titles. But, and that's where we were. And now, because we're on, we've got, for God's sake, our top scorer at the moment is a midfielder.
Yeah.
And he's got, I think I saw a stat here that he's got almost, what was it? So Fatau's got 7 assists. He's created 8 chances. The biggest thing I've got here is Patson Daka has missed a league high of 11 chances, 11 big chances this season, which is higher than any other striker in the Championship.
Strad Larson, 60 million quid. He's only scored 2 in 4 months.
That's another one of those transfers that mind blows me, to be honest.
This just sums up Leicester City, though, Eli, and the striking problems. That you can see where the goals are coming from. Jordan James, 10 goals. Fatawu, 9 goals. They've scored more goals than Patson Daka and Jordan Ayew combined.
Yeah,
on their own.
I don't know what to say.
Your main goals should be coming from your number 9. It shouldn't, your less goals should be coming through your midfielders, but we just haven't got that. And this is where, evening Everts, how are we, mate? Why did they buy 2 centre backs that we put 9 goals past? Well, this is Leicester City's recruitment. And this is what's got us in this mess regarding why we haven't signed a number 9. And I revert back to January when we needed a striker and we went and signed Jamal Lascelles. We went and signed Joe Aribo. We went and signed Joanne Richards, who was supposedly a striker, but then turned out to be a winger. Mikasa, he can play as a false 9, but his main position's a cam. So Leicester City's main objective over the last few seasons have been who's going to come in and replace Jamie Vardy? Can we get a good enough striker to do that? And it just shows they ain't got a plan. It's like, well, we'll rely on Daka. But if you look at Daka's appearances, 147 appearances, 25 goals over a nearly 5-year period. He scored 4 of them goals in Europe against Spartak Moscow. He's what's he scored this season? 3 goals.
3 goals.
3 goals.
3 goals, 3 assists, so 6 contributions. But when you look back, and probably like a lot of others, I was quite excited when we first saw that signing. because I thought, do you know what? At the end of the day, he's won 4 Austrian Bundesligas. He's won 4 Austrian Cups. He's got 68 goals and 127 appearances for Salzburg.
He played
and
with
you all sit there and you think, wow, fantastic. We obviously signed the wrong striker from Salzburg, but it's.
I was hoping bloody Steve Walsh would help us out one night. Because I remember there were a time where Steve Walsh were at Leicester, and I believe we got linked with Erling Haaland at one point when Steve Walsh was the head scout at Leicester, but we never ended up going through with it in the end. I think Leicester could have signed him for about £5 million.
Yeah.
But then he had the chance to sign him at Everton, but then they rejected him. So Austrian Bundesliga, obviously it's an all different kettle of fish, and it's a Premier League football. I'd say Championship football. Pats and Daka were tearing it up in that league with Haaland. When we brought in Pats and Daka, and you seen what he did in the Austrian Bundesliga, you thought this guy's got something. He's quick, he's sharp, he knows where the goal is. And we thought we'd got a good signing on our hands at the very start. And you always say that, don't you, Eli, when you sort of watch highlights, don't you, of these players? And that's our guilty pleasure before we sign players, that we always look at highlights and then we believe everything we see on YouTube, that this guy's going to do the bits of what we're going to see in real life in the Leicester City show. And then you sort of look at the career now and it's like, and then you look at him scoring 4 goals against Spartak Moscow and you think, this guy's got something. This guy will go on to do something. When this guy we can trust to step in from Jamie Vardy, when Vardy's not going to be playing games and that. But it's never the case. It just clearly wasn't the case from that point onwards. It's good to have one goal since that point.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because like you said, technically he's got 21 goals in the 100 and something appearances, which is obviously a really, really poor ratio. But and I understand and you hear a lot the time of, oh well, he hasn't had enough, he didn't get enough game time, and a lot of those appearances are substitute appearances and things like that, because Vardy was the main man, and I get that, but you don't. And the bit I don't understand is, look, the Austrian Bundesliga, I get it. It's not the German Bundesliga. It's not Serie A. It's not the Championship or the Premier League. It's not even La Liga or Ligue 1. But you still got to put the ball in the net. And his ratio over there was essentially 1 in 2.
Yeah.
So, that's a pretty good ratio. So I think the argument, I suppose, would be like, have we ever played in the way that suits his style? I don't know, but I don't think he helps himself half the time, to be honest. And I don't dislike Patson Daka at all, because I respect his work rate. I respect the fact that he always gives his all. He's just got one of the worst first touches I've ever seen. And I think that, as a number 9, you've got to be able to control the ball, and you've got to be able to get it in first touch. Your first touch has got to be the one that gets you away from the striker, particularly if he's got the pace. And he's got that. He's got the pace, just like Vardy had the pace. They're probably not far off each other for pace wise.
It's just when it comes to the killer touch of in front of goal,
and that's the difference, Jack, is that Jamie Vardy had that first touch. That you knew that first touch was going to get him that extra yard on that centre back or that full back, and he'd get away, and you knew he was going to be 1-on-1, and all he had to do was take it around the keeper, dink it over the keeper, put it through the keeper's legs. Whereas Patson Daka's first touch probably creates that element of not having that space.
He doesn't have that space.
Touch, 9 times out of 10 it hits his toe and goes backwards. So I think that's the problem with Daka, and obviously what he was doing in the Austrian Bundesliga is the standard of that league. And we mentioned this with international football with IU, didn't we? Like a few nights ago. With all due respect to that league,
it's a lot different.
I would say at best. And you look at the way like the Austrian teams get spanked in the Champions League a lot of the time. With all due respect to that league, it's not anywhere near Championship level.
I get your point, Michael. But what Vardy did before them relegations, but then it's not just on Jamie Vardy just scoring a lack of goals that stems that season. It surrounds the whole team. What did the whole team do that season? And it's a team collectiveness to spreading the goals around the team. But then that team relied on Jamie Vardy to score the goals. You can tell Daka cares. He does. Patson does care. He's just not good enough. He does run the lines. I'd prefer him up front than Jordan Ayew, because if I had to pick between the two, I'd choose Daka up front this season.
Absolutely.
Because he shows effort. He shows that he actually wants to do something. But the only thing that Daka struggles with is when it comes to hitting a barn door, and he clearly hasn't done that. Akinbaye was the same. Keeners mustard, but not up to the level. Akinbaye missed some sitters, and people recommend Patson Daka is the modern day Akinbaye, and that's what some Leicester fans will agree with. Has he got a first touch? First touch is like watching Iheanacho. Iheanacho was he was good in that FA Cup run, wasn't he? Problem with Daka is Daka's a confidence player. Daka's issue is he plays back to goal a lot. He doesn't play that Jamie Vardy that turns the ball and looks to goal, rather than he's turning backwards, and then the defenders are around him at that point.
And I think that's my point I was trying to make around the style in which we play just doesn't suit him, because back in the day when we obviously ended with Vards, is he would play on that last man. You'd always have someone causing trouble for those two centre-backs, and every single game, at the end of that game, I can tell you right now, those two centre-backs or three centre-backs, whoever a team would play, would come off knowing they've had a game. Whereas it feels at the moment like, and particularly, and I don't want to sit here just spending an hour slagging off Jordan Ayew and things like that, but we are where we are, and the situation is at the moment in the Championship, centre-backs are going off at the end of the game, and they've had him in their pocket, and they're probably getting him out of their pocket when they're in the changing room, and that's if he's not in Luke Thomas's pocket. So we're in a position where I think Patson Daka would get a few goals if he turned around, faced the other way, played on the last man, made that centre defence drop an extra 5 yards, because they know he's fast. But when he's playing 5 yards off them, it means nothing. So if he's playing on the last man, the back four immediately has to step back another 5 yards, because no centre back wants to be turning while they've got a striker that can go 20 miles an hour past them. And that's half the problem here, is that they're not playing to his strengths. And I get it. There's a lot of noise and a few comments around like Mikasa playing in the false nine position. I get that, but we're in a position where we need the defences to be dropping off. That's how you create the space for Harry Winks, Ollie Skip, and Jordan James to do their stuff. If that defensive line is a further 5-10 yards back than where it currently is, because teams are playing high against us because they know they haven't got a problem, and that's why we're being pushed further back, and that's why we're conceding more goals, because the pressure's on us. We need to be pushing the line up further that way, and the only way you do that is if your number 9 is playing on the last man and forcing them backwards. Yes, he'll be caught offside 5, 7, 8, 9 times a game, and that's fine, because he's putting the pressure on the centre backs, and every time they get caught offside, they think, "Oh God, if I don't step up at the right time, I'm going to be further," and one time they're going to get caught. And that's what we need. We need that striker playing on the last man. And I think we could actually play to his strengths a bit better. He's certainly the best option we've got at the moment, without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, he's the only striker option we have got. And you look at what Jordan Ayew's done this season. 5 goals? 2 of them's been penalties, 3's been outfield. Jordan Ayew.
It was a gift from Oxford, though, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, it was for one of his other goals. Andrew Neville brought Akinbaye. Jordan Ayew he clearly isn't a striker. You ask any Crystal Palace fan, is Jordan Ayew a striker? They say no. Well, why has he got the number 9 shirt? Surely he gets someone who's capable enough of banging in 15 goals a season. And we haven't got that. And this has been the massive letdown, hasn't it, Eli? That Leicester City haven't got a striker this season who can bang in the goals. We seem to play with the efficiency of when Jordan Ayew was playing, we played with 10 men basically because he's nowhere up front. He's not in the box where you should be as a striker. You should be at the front post or in the middle and moving towards the ball a lot more than helping out the bloody defence. That's what Jordan Ayew does, or he just falls over and rolls over and just basically gives up and doesn't offer that outlet what we need in the team. And we're missing that outlet in a number 9. So,
but I mean, as well, if you look at the Championship for a moment, I know it's slightly off topic, but you've got Vipotnik 17 goals, Hadji Wright 16 goals, Jack Clark. Jack Clark's not even a striker himself, 14 goals. Then you've got the 2 Hull strikers,
Michael, you do realise, mate, I'm actually older than Locks. You do realise that, mate. I am older than Locks. I do remember Akinbaye, Panic Baye from Wolves. I do remember him. Good evening, Jack. How are you doing? Score predictions Thursday with Elm. I will be next week, yeah. Daka will be a cult hero. You watch, he'll score the goal that keeps us up. We'll talk about him always with a very smile. Yeah, but one goal just doesn't do you justice. You can't be remembered for a one goal. Every player now as a striker gets remembered for what they did as the overall of what they did at Leicester City. Patson Daka, you don't talk about. You only talk about his 4 goals at Spartak Moscow. You don't talk about anything else. You don't talk about how well he's done since. Or Jordan Ayew. We probably talk about that Southampton goal if we mention anything good about Jordan Ayew. So,
I mean, just on that comment, you could play devil's advocate and say if we do go down, Daka's going to be remembered for missing a penty against Watford and missing a header at the post. So it works both ways, doesn't it? Wilson against the penalty, and it's so there's a lot of it's all
there's a lot of animosity, aren't there, in the areas of what we look at now as a striker, and this is the club's fault again. It's not just Jordan Ayew we've had this season and Patson Daka. We've had Julian Carranza, who played nine times, offered little. He offered nothing. Carranza.
He's a really frustrating one because on transfer deadline day, obviously when they announced it and everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's come from Feyenoord. He must be all right." And then you start looking at YouTube and you see him scoring over a kick for Philadelphia and things like that. And then he turns up and it's like they brought some sort of imposter in from like some National League South side or something like that. And that was just a accident waiting to happen, wasn't it? But again, that was the ultimate panic buy, wasn't it? You talk about Akinbaye. That is up there with, well, not even a buy. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure what Necaxa have seen in him to have gone and paid sort of £3 million for him or something from Feyenoord, but the fact that we managed
AC Milan goal, aren't they? Okay, then we'll take a punt on this, and that's what he hadn't played for Feyenoord for a long time at that point. This is the failure of recruitment again, Eli. Bringing panic loaning striker. It's like, well, it clearly shows they haven't got a plan in the recruitment. Who's picking these players? Who's going to scout these individuals?
Yeah, but also
to ask here.
Jack, just take it back to the start of the season for a moment. We all knew that we needed a striker. You could have lined up every single fan in that stadium against Sheffield Wednesday on day one and said, "What position do we need?" Every single fan in that stadium would have said striker. Now, I'm just going to throw out 3 players that were available on free transfers, no transfer fees. Right, I'm going to throw out Ollie McBurney.
Yeah,
right. He's got 13 goals, 7 assists this season. Patrick Bamford was available. He was fit. He'd been let go. He had a bit of animosity with Leeds in the way he got let go. And then you think forward to January, and I understand that he got a bit of an injury, but Michael Antonio like that to me was a complete no-brainer. I know he did his hamstring a little bit, but he was fit within 2 weeks after that injury. A free transfer on a pay-as-you-play deal, you got nothing to lose, and we'd at least have something up front that was, a target man. And I get that, he's had a horrific injury, and you wouldn't wish that injury on anyone, but he was begging for a club. He was, he was minutes from signing for Brentford,
and then he got injured. And this was Leicester's issue that he's injured, but then
he's come out and said that he was told it was because of PSR, though, didn't he?
Well, this is the club again. It's Mikel Antonio, a one-legged Mikel Antonio, would score more goals than Daka and Ayew this season. I think even Mikel Antonio on a fucking Zimmer frame would, but. This is the issue where even Ray says Carranza is like one of these pop stars that can't sing but gets in these good looks in him but can't play. Yeah, Sammy Smodics would have been the perfect fit for us. I said this many a times. Sammy Smodics. Perhaps if we put Leicester shirts on Lincoln City players, we'd do better and save money. This is the problem, Eli. Patson Daka cost us 23 million quid. Jordan Ayew cost us £8 million. That's 31 million quid, and Carranza's cost us zero. And
I think it was about £7.5 a week on wages, wasn't it, or something like that?
Jordan Ayew and Daka have made a combined 217 appearances between them, and they've scored 36 goals. Obviously Daka's been here longer. And then you look at Carranza, scored 0, 9 appearances. Leicester's massive issue is why we're also in this position of where we are in the table is because we haven't got a goal scorer. We haven't got number 9. We haven't got a proper number 9, a goal tallying number 9. You look at all the strikers this season in the Championship are putting these players to shame for Potnick, McBurney, Bamford, Haji Wright at Coventry. I believe you've actually wrote some stats down about these different strikers. Sort of a comparison this season.
I mean, it's no surprise that, you look at all these teams, with the exception of Swansea. So Potnick's obviously the top scorer in the league, and I get that, and Swansea are where they are, and they had a very good start to the season. But since January, they kind of fell off. But you got Haji Wright, Coventry, 16 goals. They're obviously top of the league. Jack Clark, 14 goals. They're up there. Hull have got Joe Gelhardt and Ollie McBurney both on 13. They're in the playoff positions. You got Thomas Asante from Coventry. He's not even a striker. He's on 12 goals. So it's no surprise. Morgan Whittaker at Middlesbrough. And even Adam Armstrong. He left in January.
Yeah,
he's still like in the top 8 for the goal scorers. You got Kiefer Moore. Patrick Agyemang from Derby. All these players are playing for clubs. They've got double figures. And their clubs are in the top sort of 6, top 8. It's no surprise. And then you look at it from the other perspective. You've got Blackburn have got Ahashi. He's only got 8. West Brom, Hegabo, only got 9. Portsmouth, I can't pronounce his name properly, but Segacic, I think his name is. He's only got 6. And then you've got us, and we've got a midfielder that scored the most goals. Oxford, even Lancashire for Oxford's got 8 goals.
Yeah.
And that's why we're exactly where we are. When I look at the thing compared to the league, so Potnick has got 17 goals, which is obviously basically double what our top scorer's got. Fatau's created 8 big chances, 7 assists. He's actually above. He is the top creative winger in the league. And he's only got. And you'd say that he's inconsistent this season would be a fair comment, wouldn't it? I think.
Go away, door.
Under 50. I mean, there is an argument around there.
I'm surprised Forest didn't give us a 1 year. To be honest, I'm surprised they didn't go for him in the summer.
Yeah. But again, you look at QPR signed Richard Coney. We were
that's my problem. An out-and-out goal scorer. At Wigan, we were banging in the goals. For QPR, he's scored. What's he got? 8 this season.
And he's been injured quite a bit. He got sent off a few times as well, didn't he? So he's missed a few games, So
really desperate to learn their top talent young players out now. That's what I'm saying. Like, we've not looked. We've not actually done our research or homework on all these strikers. We've just overlooked everything and think, what? We're going to be fine this season. We've got Ayew and Daka.
I think that's the thing, Jack. The arrogance we obviously had in the summer is that, don't worry, we're Leicester City. We'll be fine. We've got a squad that's got Harry Winks. We've got a squad that's got Oliver Skipp. We've got a squad with Fatau. We've got. Don't worry. We don't need a striker.
A squad on paper.
That's the problem, and that's why we're where we are, is because of the arrogance of that situation of, don't worry, we'll be absolutely fine. We've got enough, we'll get enough goals elsewhere. And actually, when you have an out-of-form Mavadidi and an inconsistent Fatawu, and let's be honest, at the time, we didn't even have Jordan James. So at the time, we were looking at Soumare, Ndidi, and El Khanous at the time. I think this would be very, very different if we had El Khanous here still, if I'm being honest. But, it's just sheer arrogance to not have signed a striker and think that we're going to be fine with what we've got. And I'd imagine at the start of the season, and what surprised me a little bit was Jake Evans getting game time in the Premier League and getting absolutely none of it in the Championship. Because at the end of the day, he's a natural striker. So I was very surprised to see him not get a chance when the fans are absolutely screaming for it. And I understand the element from the other side of, you can't just go and throw a kid into the situation. But, this would have been perfect for him to get 20, 30 minutes off the bench and see, what can you do? Because he's had a few good performances for Northampton, and they're in the drop zone themselves. So, it frustrates me because it's just sheer arrogance. And I just don't understand how every single person, quite frankly, that supports Leicester
knows exactly what we need.
What we need. It doesn't take a chief scout to figure out what we need here. But, you talk about the last 10 years, and it's been the same argument for 10 years now. And we're making the same mistake over and over and over again. And I'd imagine we'll probably make the same mistake again. But,
this is why they brought in a sporting director, haven't they? To sort of make sure that things like this don't happen going forward. But then the same person's still got to work with John Rudkin. So he's basically overseen all this malarkey of clearly not interested in filling positions that should have been filled.
Yeah.
So
when you look at Dujan,
he's a young striker who's not even played bloody professional football.
Is that a contract?
You know what I'm saying? It clearly shows that Chelsea just wanted to get rid of him. He's obviously got a 1-year extension at Chelsea if they want to extend it. And I believe looking, and when I looked on Google earlier about Jordan Ayew, I think he's got a year. Leicester there's a clause in his contract say Leicester can extend it for a year till 2027. And me saying that, I don't really go down with Leicester fans at all well. And it gave me a funny stomach thinking about that situation.
That makes me feel sick, the thought of that. Like, I might have to come off air. Because the thought of that makes me physically sick. He's out of contract in the summer, but I don't know what it is. Like,
Harry Winks. We didn't know about Harry Winks' situation until this arose a few weeks ago. But to look at, because someone asked me the other day, they said, if Jordan Ayew got a clause in his contract, so sort of, if you look it up on Google now and type in Jordan Ayew clause, and it will come up on Google on an AI thing, it actually comes up. It's quite something. And I didn't know about it at first. I wish you had a good evening, gents. The dog is pestering me to take him out. Great show again. Big up, man. Let's look at strikers then, and then we'll sort of put them into perspective of the good and bad. We spoke about Daka, Ayew. We've done Carranza. I'll tell you what. Who should we speak about first? Odson Edward. I'll tell you what.
I was just going to say him.
We'll discuss Edward. I think he played about 90 minutes overall for Leicester over his time at the Foxes, and he were on a big chunk of money. We couldn't even send him back.
He was like 90 grand a week, wasn't it, we were paying or something, from Palace.
Yeah, we were playing a big chunk of his wages. Another one that Leicester's just wasted it, haven't they? So it were a wasted loan, and they never put a clause in that could send him back when they wanted to. And
let's be frank about Odson Edward here, right? The guy never got a chance. So I think I don't think we can sit here and say he was crap, he was awful.
I think you're injured. I think
he was obviously injured. Take it back to the Celtic days. That guy was explosive in the SPL. He was banging goals in for fun for Celtic. Which is what got him the big move to Palace, wasn't it? At the end of the day, so when they signed him, take away the fact that it was like 90 grand a week or whatever it was on wages. I thought, well, we got ourselves a striker here.
Yeah.
And then, whenever we'd be at the King Power, we'd never see his name on the team sheet. We'd never see him on the bench. He was just isolated straight out of the squad straight away. And so that surprised me, because he was a striker that can score goals. And we never utilised him. And this is what we've said a few times tonight. We've not utilised people in a way that best suits them.
I think it was just alone, to be honest, Edward. I think the club were desperate for another striker. Yeah. Steve Cooper spoke about it, that they needed a striker, and they went and bloody pushed it through a deal that I think Ipswich were after Edward, but then Leicester had obviously spent a lot more time in getting the deal done. Crystal Palace would have been laughing at Leicester at that point. Yeah. Oh, bloody hell, Leicester are desperate. Let's go and entertain this and see what John Ruckin and Co's got to say. But anyway, Tom Cannon, we spent £8 million on him. Again, he looked like he'd actually got something at times. Yeah. 16 appearances, 3 goals for Leicester. His best game against Huddersfield, but I don't think we ever seen the best of Tom Cannon, to be fair.
You look at him at Sheffield United now, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go and say he's a clinical striker that puts the ball in the back of the net. He's not their number one striker. He gets important goals. Of course,
they scored 2 against Leicester. Let's not forget that.
So, but he's kind of playing second fiddle to Campbell and to Bamford, and even sort of some of the wingers play a bit more inverted there, don't they, as well? So, good player, still reasonably young, but
not worth £8 million though.
Again, I think we sold him for more than we bought him there, didn't we? I think.
Yeah, he went on loan to Stoke, didn't he? And scored 4 in one game against Portsmouth. Yeah. And then Sheffield United were interested, and then thought, this guy's prolific. It's all right. We'll pay £10 million to Leicester.
Was it 10 million? So, we made money on him, probably good business, but I don't think he was clinical enough to be class. In hindsight, I'd sit here now and say, God, I wish we had a Tom Cannon up front. But it's, but he's not the finished article. He's not the person who's going to get you 20 goals a season, which is what we're lacking. So,
I'll tell you what, we'll do this. Jose Perez, we spent 30 million on him. Obviously, Perez, was he a striker? Was he a cam? Was he a winger? Obviously, he spent a lot more time on the wing, didn't he, at Leicester? Obviously, he scored that hat-trick against Southampton. I don't think we've seen the best of Jose Perez at Leicester for what we paid for him anyway. We didn't see the Newcastle United Jose Perez, because I felt with Leicester they never played him in the right position. Which I think with Perez he was a cam rather than a winger. He wasn't a striker, but we'd obviously spent big money on him in that attacking option. In 114 appearances, scored 15 goals.
Yeah, I really liked him. I really rated him. He's obviously remembered for the hat trick and things like that. 30 million is a lot of money, mind.
It is.
I would say that was a success. But again, he's not a striker. At best, he's a false nine.
I think it was the same summer we brought Danny Ward for £12 million from Liverpool.
Whoever did that needs slapping. Give me a second. I'm just going to let the dog out the back door quickly. 1 second.
All right, cool. Oh dear. Perez. I don't think we've ever seen the best of him, to be fair, than what the La Liga did. I thought La Liga seen a lot more of a Jose Perez, Real Betis, and where he's at now. He looks far more influential. He's in the Spain national team as well. So he's been a lot more better there. They're playing him in his actual position, to be honest, and he's flourishing, and that's something he didn't do at Leicester for that price. Kelechi Iheanacho, 25 million quid. We thought at the time over the first year or so, it's like, yeah, what a waste of money. But then he matured. He scored some. He went on that FA Cup run, didn't he? The FA Cup wouldn't have been really possible if it weren't for Kelechi getting us to Wembley. So he played a key part in that. He was the FA Cup man. Scored quite a few goals in COVID, which was his best season, which he did score more than Vardy. But Kelechi, senior man, 25 mil.
It's still a lot of money. Still a lot of money.
Would you call him a cult hero? I mean, I would.
I think I would. I wouldn't go as far as club legend, but I think he got 61 goals. Am I right?
Yeah, 61 goals and 232 appearances.
What's that? One in four, something like that. 1 in 4.5 games, something like that. But he got better as the years went on, and I think that year through COVID, him and Vardy played 3. So it's not a bad ratio for a striker, to be honest.
A game, isn't it?
So I actually liked him and I rated him, and I think he's another one. I think is he at Celtic now?
Is it Celtic?
Yeah, so he's still putting a few goals in for Celtic.
He didn't really cut it. He didn't really cut it at Sevilla, did he? When he went there?
No, it was
Kelechi.
It's a funny one, though, isn't it? Because when you go to Spain, some players are suited for that, and some players aren't. And I think he was more suited to the sort of style of player, the faster paced football. Spain and Italy is a lot slower, isn't it? Take out Barcelona and Real Madrid for a moment. Everyone else plays very slow, methodical football. And that probably doesn't suit a striker that likes to play on the last man like he does.
I agree. That race says here, Nacho was really played well whenever Vardy was out, and with the occasional knock.
They also played well together.
Yeah, when they played together, Nacho and Vardy, I thought they were good together.
Yeah.
Nacho was a good Premier League player and international. Yeah. Do you know what? Kerr was a decent striker for us. He was part of obviously our success, and that, like I say, cult hero is what I'd put Kelechi out. His time at Leicester, obviously, at Man City, it were always an all different task, wasn't it? Because look at the players they had around him at that time, and the young Kelechi Iheanacho still maturing and learning to play with a team what's not really Manchester City level of players.
Mm.
So he had to do a lot more of the grind, a lot more of the hard work, and I think he helped in that respect, Eli.
Yeah, definitely. I would go as far as saying that of all the players that we've spoke about tonight so far, he is the one that's been the most successful out of everything. And by God, would we all sort of beg for a Kelechi Iheanacho right now?
I think his tenure, like I say, he was one of the fans' favourite in the end. He spent 7 years at Leicester. His affection and cult status is what I'd summed him up as here. He's obviously remembered him as a selfless team player who provided memorable highlights such as a trademark celebration and in his FA Cup heroics, senior man legacy, celebrated periods over the 2021 season where he scored 19 goals, including the 4 on the way of the first ever FA Cup. Obviously, he had his frustrations, didn't he? More than he was thrilled over his 232 appearances. Common criticism is every player's with his first touch, lack of top-end speed, but he could blow hot and cold at times, Kel. But I think I speak about it more in a better light, to be fair. And obviously with the final season he had under Enzo, Enzo preferred more of a mobile or high pressing strikers like Vardy and Daka in the end, which I think it just came with frustration in the end of where he actually went for him. But when he obviously went to Spain, it was just incredibly sad how he declined. And obviously he went to Middlesbrough, didn't he, as well, which, you know, I think we have fond memories.
He only had when he went to Seville though. He only made 11 appearances and he only scored 3 goals. All of them were in the Copa del Rey. So he again, you know, he had his contract terminated in September, didn't he? Then he went, like you said, he went to Middlesbrough. He scored 1 goal in 15 appearances. Now he's at Celtic. I think he's got 3 in 14 this season. So you know, it's not like it's kind of fell off a cliff since he left us, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just not the same player. Middlesbrough fans didn't rate him when you talk to them, but then Celtic, he's not really influenced a lot there.
It was a Brendan Rodgers signing though, wasn't it, before he resigned? So he's gone to someone he trusts. So we just locked the door again for the dog.
Perez was a good player, better than me. No, I agree, Rags, on that, mate. I agree with what you're saying about Perez. He's better than we've got now. You know, if you could put Iheanacho and Perez in this team, well, Iheanacho of 2021 season, Iheanacho in this Leicester team, I think he'd bang in the goals. You know, he's a striker that you need in that sort of form. And you then look at Perez, he'd offer a lot in that cam position if you'd actually play him there. Let's look at Eli. Islam Slimani, 29 million we spent on him a few years back. 47 appearances, 13 goals. I think Slimani, you won't even remember him for that Dragon Slayer goal against Porto. I don't think I thought it was the biggest waste of money, to be fair. 29 million quid. Never lived up to the desire of what we wanted from him. But then I always say with Slimani, we never played to his strengths, and that was to get them high balls in where he was more of a target man. He was an Ulloa type of player where you've got to be whipping them balls high, and you know he's gonna get them headers. We never play like that, and you can't play Slimani to his feet. You've got to be playing that in the air because that's where Slimani's lethal. It never worked out for him for £29 million. It's probably one of the worst signings for what was made of that. And to score, 13 goals. You know, I thought we played to his strengths in that debut. Was it the debut where he scored against Burnley? He scored 2, did he, in that game? And yeah, that Champions League goal against Porto is the only thing I'd really remember him, and then scoring an absolute stonker against Danny Ward when in that cup game. So yeah, it's just too much money.
With Slimani though, when you look at, you know, we signed him off the back of him getting 27 goals in the league season for Sporting. You know, we obviously paid 29.7 mil, so best part of 30 million. He's gone and got, you know, at the time he was a record signing. You know, 13 goals in 47 it's not dreadful. But then you look at where he's gone after that. He went back on loan to Sporting for a bit. He had a little bit of Lyon, a little bit of Monaco. Like between the 3 of those, he got 13 goals. It's nothing really. And then I'm surprised to see he's 37 now. But let's be honest, since then he's been at Cortiba, Mechelen, Bula Rizad, Westerlo, and he's currently playing in Romania. So I think that kind of shows, you know, what you know, we've paid £30 million for someone who's just not good enough.
Well, someone would have called him a donkey, to be fair. You know,
I was trying to be polite. So.
Thank you. That's how it is.
You know, it's another. You look at that and you go like, it's another one of those players. You know, he's the top scorer for Algeria. You know, Jordan Ayew's the top scorer for blooming Ghana. You know, let's be honest. It goes back to what we said a few nights ago. With all due respect, if either me or you were Ghanaian or Algerian, we probably have 100 caps as well. So you know, it's different.
It's different levels. I think.
Yeah. I looked at it just thinking on like Ghana for a moment. I looked at it earlier on, and they had in their World Cup qualifier group, they had to play Madagascar, Mali, Burkina Faso, and you're like, let's be honest, that's the equivalent of playing San Marino.
They should be winning games.
Yeah, you know, and they lost one of those, and they drew one. So you know, I just think we just sign players off a finger. Yeah, I mean that's the one.
I agree, Michael. You know, Iheanacho, he didn't get offered a new contract.
And that was the point I was going to make, Jack, around this whole. We've signed these players for £140 million. Okay, what have we actually got in return apart from running their contracts dry? But I can tell you, I think Iheanacho went on a free to Seville.
Yeah.
Slimani, did we get any money for him, or did he go at the end of his? Because he was here. He was on contract for 5 years.
He went to Newcastle, didn't he, on loan? Slimani.
Did he really? I didn't.
He did. He went to Newcastle. They didn't like him either.
Not surprised.
I'll tell you what. I'll add up all the appearances for what they've all made over the time. So you got Slimani, Musa. We'll talk about Ahmed Musa in a minute, and then I'll tell you what we got back from these players. So hold on. So if you add up all the goals, Eli, so you've got 25, 11, 13, 5, 3, 61, and 15.
You could even take the 61 out because we've agreed that he's a cult hero.
Yeah, he's a cult hero. I'll tell you what, we'll take Iheanacho out. We'll take Perez out as well, I think. I think
you're talking then 140. So let's say 25, 30. So you're taking 55 million off that transfer fee. So for 95, 90, the best part of £90 million, this is what we've got in return for 90 million quid.
So Cannon 16.
I'm just wondering if anyone's watching that we've missed. Have we missed any?
I wouldn't say we missed them. So 328 appearances.
Yeah.
In under 328 appearances, if you're looking over combined of the players that we want to add in there, so that would be a combined total of 57 goals in 325 appearances.
That's not even enough to keep you in the league.
57 goals ain't a lot. Yeah, he did. Newcastle fans liked him. Oh, did they? I didn't really watch him at Newcastle. I know he'd gone there. Was it under the Rafa era? He went to Newcastle. No, was it Rafa? I'm trying to think, or was it Alan Pardew?
It's a little gander. Slimani.
Right. So the next one, Ahmed Musa. See, this guy scored against Barcelona, 2 goals in pre-season, and we thought this guy was the dog's bollocks, basically. This when we thought Ahmed Musa was good. 33 appearances, 5 goals. Never hit it off at all. For 16 million quid, it was another bogus signing. Oh, George Hurst. See,
now that is one I was going to mention right at the end. Because
I don't think we can really bring him into it, can we? Because he never really made many appearances for the team at all.
No, my argument was going to be this is one of the ones we've let go that is doing all right, to be honest.
Alan Shearer likes one match of the day.
But let's be honest, I'm just having a look at the thing for Slimani one moment. It says here he made 4 appearances for Newcastle, struggled with injury, disciplinary hearings. He had 1 assist, no goals, and played 130 minutes.
So he played four times.
So I'd be very surprised if.
And what year did he play for Newcastle?
It was 2017-2018 season. So he had very little. He was sent off. He received a 3-match ban for violent conduct, which ended his time at the club for an off-the-ball incident with West Brom's Craig Dawson. A thigh injury delayed his debut by 2 months. He finally made his appearance as a substitute against Huddersfield Town, back when Huddersfield were in the Prem.
Heard about that Gaz Lineker geezer, lads.
Yeah, but we're not going back that far. We're trying to focus on where we are now, though, aren't we? So
we're trying to focus on after winning the recruitment after the 2016 season to how much money we spent on all these players.
we'd probably take Gary Lineker now.
I think
even
we would.
Even at his age now, to be honest. But
yeah, Musa never lived up to anything. To be fair, after that Barcelona moments in pre-season, never lived up to it. We're never the striker he scored obviously against Sheffield United in the cup, where we're saying if Musa scores were on the pitch, just like we did against Daka, when obviously Daka had missed that penalty at Watford. And Musa scored against Palace, never really hit it off at all. Like I say, another bogus signing by the club.
Was it? I think he got the brace against Everton, didn't he, in the cup?
Yeah, he scored against Everton in the cup. He did it. Goodison Park send us through, and that's all I really remember of Musa. To be fair, I can't really talk highly of him.
I mean, let's be honest. Look, we signed him for 16.6 million. We sold him to Al Nassr for 16.5. So that is damn good business to have got rid of him.
We got the money back for him. We got more money back than he's goals.
He's currently playing in the Nigerian league for Kano Pillars, and he's still there, and he got 4 goals this season.
No idea who that is.
Yeah, exactly. I believe
he did go back to CSK Moscow.
He went back and he actually helped them get in the Champions League. He got six goals in a short period. But again, you're talking about levels of leagues here, aren't you? The Russian league is it's another one of those ones where you go the Russian league, the Austrian league. You go as far as saying the Swedish league, the Danish league. These sort of leagues. It's a 1 in 100 chance of a player making it. You look at Haaland and you go, you're not going to find. Not every club goes and finds an Erling Haaland.
Yeah,
like Dortmund did, and Dortmund are the masters of finding these superstars, aren't they? So, and we went, I suppose on the other hand, you sit there and you go, look, we did it with Mahrez, we did it with Kante, we've done it with Vardy. There's other players that we've done it with. You go as far as saying Ricardo Pereira was a super signing, but there's just too many of them that have just been nowhere near good enough. And you question the actual work that the scouts and the team and the recruitment team have put in to sign some of this rubbish.
It's true. 200 million quid on rubbish players 2016-17. I mean, didn't we bring Robert Zieler in at one point in that bloody Champions League season?
I mean, we're only focusing on the strikers. We
can do another show on these.
We could be a literary team all night.
Right, I'll tell you what then. I'll tell you what. Do we discuss Joa, Kramaric, and Okazaki? Obviously, that's before this debacle even started. Obviously, Joa was good for Leicester, clinical in that Great Escape season. Was pinnacle in that Premier League title winning season. Okazaki the same. Okazaki was pinnacle in that title winning season. Fan favourite, loved him to bits, both players. Kramaric, small note on him, never got given the opportunity at all. The potential were there, but 9 million quid, it never lived up to the expectations, to be fair, and it never worked out for him at all. So I think he was one that we'd really missed out on, to be fair, Kramaric. But here we go. He scored goals in the Bundesliga. He went to Hoffenheim and that and showed what he can do. So, right, let's put these in order then from, I'll tell you what, should we put them in from bad to worst? Well, bad to good. Or should we do good to bad? I'll tell you what, we'll do good to bad.
Let's do best to worst.
I'll tell you what then. So, we'll put Iheanacho in the best.
Definitely, yeah. Cult hero.
And then we'll put Jose Perez in second.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I would go Kel, Perez. I would physically go. Jesus Christ!
I think we finished our list. So
I think there's only 2 I can really think of that of work. But then who do you put in? I'll tell you what. We will go with. Dearie me. I tell you what.
I think that this shows where we are, because we've named 2 players of every. We've been on for just over an hour, and we're talking. We've named 2 players, and now we're like, oh God, I don't know which one comes third, because
they were shit.
And that's the problem. This is where we're at now. I think we can all agree Jordan Ayew's last.
Well, over a 5-year period, I put Daka there. That's my issue. Daka, 25 goals over 147 appearances over 4.5 years. It's
pretty
Daka and Ayew. It's a problem. You'd probably put them both there, to be honest.
Slimani was, he wasn't terrible, was he? 13 in 47 isn't drastic.
I'd put. I
think you look at the transfer fee, don't you? And you go,
it's the transfer fee when I talk about Slimani.
If we'd have signed him for $5 million,
the process gets ugly for me.
You're damn right, it gets ugly.
That's what I'm saying. We're struggling here. I don't know who to put where. I don't want to seem disrespectful.
I think we're past the stage of disrespect now, though.
Carranza and Edward have got to go bottom. Physically,
no goals.
I would physically go. Edward.
Kramaric wasn't bad. He was all right. We could probably stick him in at third.
Well, we're not going to include him in this list at all. It's going to be the ones that we'd sign from 16 onwards. So we'll put Kelechi there, Perez there. Then we've got Edward.
Carranza, Edward.
I'll tell you what. I'll put Carranza bottom. Carranza, because he played more games. Edward, and then we will go with. So we take Edward off, take Carranza off, take Perez off, Kelechi off. Let's take that one off.
We've got to get Musa, Slimani.
So we've got to get Tom Cannon in there. I'll tell you what, I'll put Tom Cannon in third.
Yeah.
I'll put Cannon in third. So we'll go Kel, Perez, Cannon. And then we've just got to fit in Musa, Slimani, Daka, and Ayew. See, bloody hell. How do we keep...
I would put Slimani in fourth because, there was something about him. He wasn't dreadful. His ratio's like 1 in 4 again. It's not much worse than Kelechi's, to be honest.
Slimani, Musa. See, who's worse, Daka or Musa? Obviously,
I would say Musa. I think you have to sit there for a moment and go like, we're looking at the longevity here of Daka, aren't we? And we're going, well, he's not scored enough goals over a period of time, but he puts the effort in, and I think that's and like I said at the start, I understand I'm contradicting myself slightly because I said as a striker you get rated on the amount of times you put the ball in the back of the net, but with Daka, he does put the pressure on the centre halves to give the space for the number 10 for the two wingers to bomb on because he's taking. I think we'd be a little bit harsh on Daka to put him so low down personally.
So AI's overview is based on their overall impact, goals and transfer value. Ahmed Musa is generally considered to have the worst spell at Leicester City compared to Patson Daka.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Well, I'll tell you what. Then we'll put Musa underneath.
Sorry if you're listening, mate.
Yeah. Bloody hell. So then we've got to go Daka or Ayew.
I would always put Ayew after Daka because I'm going to ask. He's just lazy. He's the laziest player I've ever seen, and frustrates the hell out of me.
Well, they're saying, they're saying that comparing Slimani and Daka is a debate between expensive inconsistency and record-breaking disappointment. While both are considered failed investments given their high fees, Slimani is generally viewed as the worst signing due to significantly higher cost per goal. an inability to ever truly integrate into the squad.
Yeah, I agree.
Now I'm going to ask you. Now I'm going to say Slimani or are you? We'll see what it comes back with now. Here we go. While both are unpopular with the fans, Slimani is generally considered worst signing due to his record. I tell you what, then we will go Daka, are you? I tell you what, we'll put Slimani to the thick of it, to be honest. So that's got Kelechi, Perez, Cannon. According to AI, they put Daka in 4th, Ayu in 5th, Slimani in 6th, Musa, Edward, and Carranza. So I've asked AI this, and they've put them in that order.
I don't think we could argue with that, to be honest. I mean, I would personally have Ayu further down because I think part of this comes down to your relationship with the fans as well, and it's never hit off. Whereas, let's be honest with Daka, when he's warming up, for example, the fans clap him.
Yeah.
When they see Ayu, they're booing. It's that's kind of where we are, isn't it? Whether that's right or wrong.
Cannon's got the better conversion rate, hasn't he? Over a short period of time compared to Daka, so I'll put him third. Obviously, AI
Cannon is inconsistent. He's more consistent than Ayu.
AI's just basically chose me 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and 9th, and 10th. So there we go. I'm not going to disagree with AI. If AI thinks that obviously they've got stats and everything to back it up. Yeah. So that it is what it is. But Kelechi and Acho and Perez, I can agree with. And then far from that, I don't think I'd really say we've really done well in the signings. To be fair, Kelechi and Perez have probably been the best of the bunch that we've actually spent the money on. All the others have just been a complete waste of money and a waste of loans. So
absolutely.
Anyway, that is it from us. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Let us know yours in the comment section where you put all your list of strikers from the 2016 to 2026 of strikers we've signed. Let us know where you put them in your order and what you think to the players. And that is it from us. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll catch you soon.